As Tom mentioned, I was a surrogate for him and his partner. For me, my journey was a lot quicker than theirs. I contacted Circle Agency in November of 2007. I was matched with them by Christmas. Would have been a little bit sooner, but based on my restrictions and certain things that we all had to work out of what I was willing to do and not willing to do when it came to pregnancy and genetics and all that. So I decided to be a surrogate back when I was 16. I worked with a lady who unfortunately was unable to have children. She was going through the adoption process 2 different times in the 6 months that I worked with her, and both times the girls backed out days before delivery after a nursery was already set, husband was ready to go. And so I started researching when I was 16 to see what other process. I already knew where adoption was in the US, and adoption is so difficult for anyone, much else gay people, unfortunately. So that's when I came about surrogacy. So I decided once I was done with my family, which I have one daughter who's 7.5, that I would go ahead and be a surrogate. Never in my life would I have guessed it would have been for Tom and his partner, but as soon as Circle asked me if that was an option, I said, why not? I said, as long as they want a kid for the right reasons, then I don't care who the parents are, as long as they don't want just a step in line. Through my nannying, I've learned that people have kids just for a step in line or a picture on a desk, and that to me was really difficult when there's people out there who actually want to have kids who can't have kids. I contacted Circle, like I said, in November, went through a screening process. It took about 3 to 5 days, and then I started going through all the psychological evaluations, the questionnaires, the telephone interviews, how Circle matches. Basically, the couple gets to choose first, and then if they agree, then you get to see their profiles. Profiles are looked over, and if we both agree, like he said, we had a phone conversation first, and then they came out. We just met in January. We decided to continue, so our medical screening with Dr. Doyle at the Connecticut Fertility Clinic, and I flew in there, had my medical screening to make sure everything was fine. Turned in all my prior birth records, delivery records, and spent my first weekend here in the city, which I absolutely hated. I am not a city girl I thought I was. It's grown on me now, for this is my 5th trip here in a 1.5 years. But in that 8 hours, I have never had my picture taken so many times because Tom and his partner wanted to remember everything and every place we walked, every street we walked on. I returned to Connecticut in May for the embryo transfer. We put 2 in, and 2 weeks later we found out there was 1 that had taken. And ironically, like he said, the transfer was done on Mother's Day. And once the 1 was taken, because of me doing the in vitro, I had to be monitored every 2 weeks. I got ultrasounds, which most women don't get an ultrasound every 2 weeks, but I got to see it literally grow from a little bean, is what I called him, to the day he was born, and he was just a little bean, until my 12 weeks. So every 2 weeks I saw him literally grow from a little bean to hands and feet, which to me was absolutely amazing. The next time I saw Tom and Marcio was at my regular OB appointment for the last and final ultrasound. They normally do anyways. And they came in town. That's when I allowed them to meet Ada and get to know her. And I had already explained the process to her, already explained to her who they were. By then I had the photo book, so I was able to show the pictures and stuff to her. I got quite a few books that I found online regarding surrogacy, regarding gay surrogacy, so she understood the whole concept no matter what. So she really loved it. She actually really didn't have that many questions for me. I don't know if I just overly prepared her or if she was just like me and didn't care. I mean, I don't know which one it was. The one thing I forgot to leave out, and Dr. Doyle knows I love this part, is the shots. Your women, your surrogates have to give themselves shots, which isn't fun, but it is so worth it. I would do it again in a heartbeat for them. But it's definitely not fun. But to get the hormones there so your body's ready, you have to do that. My daughter and I then came here to build a relationship more with Tom and Marcio in October of last year. So we saw more of the city that I had already seen, plus some in that small weekend, including Broadway, which were the first for both me and my daughter. We built a great relationship throughout my pregnancy. They were definitely the biggest part of the support system that you are to build as a surrogate, which was really difficult for me building that support system, but I had quite a few friends to help me along the way. We would email, talk daily, weekly. I mean, we always kept in contact. There wasn't a time that we either just couldn't talk to someone, even if we were having a problem. No big deal. I only shared with a few people about my couple, that they were a gay couple, only because I knew with me being pregnant, from being pregnant before, I did not need the stress of dealing with the people who are closed-minded and see that as an issue, much else the people who saw surrogacy in general an issue. I wasn't adding to it. I did share with quite a few people who I knew were okay, especially since I'm in the community quite a bit, so that wasn't, I had a really good support system there. But with me being in customer service and having repeat customers every day, all day, I had to be careful who I said what to so I didn't lose customers during the process. I know it was difficult at times for Tom and his partner to be gone, not to be in Ohio, but that's partly why we kept talking, and every time I had an ultrasound, I'd email the ultrasound pictures to them so they could feel like they were there. Every doctor appointment, we would talk before the appointment, after the appointment. So if they had any questions, I could ask, and then I would let them know what had happened at the appointment. Like he said, the big finale, which again, ironically, was Martin Luther King weekend of the next year. So my process only took a year and a few weeks from when I started to when I delivered. We were induced, partly by my choice, partly by the doctor. We were going to induce actually on that Monday. And the week before, the doctor told me it wasn't medically necessary, so I said I couldn't do it then. I wouldn't do it if it wasn't medically necessary. I wasn't due for another 2 weeks. So after sitting in misery for that weekend that I was supposed to be induced, I went to the doctor on that Tuesday or Monday and I said, I want to be induced tomorrow. I said I can't make it another week and work, and I'm not going to take off time before I deliver. So 6:30 in the morning, they flew in overnight. We went in to be induced. The hospital, unfortunately, was super busy, and our inducement didn't start till 8 a.m. The doctor came in, broke my water at 11 a.m., and I was on Pitocin being induced. And by 2:15, I'm pretty sure it was about 2:15, I told them to get the nurse and the doctor, I was done. And by 2:55, he was delivered. Everyone pretty much everyone was there. Tom and his partner were in the room, which was a big conversation because from the very beginning, I'm like, I don't care. More power to you. I mean, it's your kid, not mine. You need to be there. So, but they were nice and they worried about my privacy, and I'm like, there is no privacy when you deliver kids. You lose all modesty and all private issues when you have a kid. So what's another 2 people in the room? I couldn't express enough the feeling that is. I mean, I've had my own child, and it was nothing like having a child for someone else who wanted it so bad. I mean, I had it easy. I got pregnant, had a kid. I mean, so to me it was more difficult through this, not attachment-wise, but just emotionally, watching Tom and his partner go through the whole process, knowing how much they had to go through, not just financially, emotionally, society-wise. I mean, they had more struggles than I would ever face in a million years just to have a child. But we've definitely kept in touch, as he said, and I will not be a surrogate again unless they decide they want another one, partly because of the experience I had with them. I would expect that high of expectations from everybody else. Plus, I think with the stress on me and my daughter getting to know a whole nother couple would just be even more, and it's not that I didn't enjoy the experience at all, but I think partly too my age a little bit, I'm not sure I would go through the whole process again. It would be a lot quicker. Thank you.